Okay, so I've shown you a couple of ways to work with either color themes or Cooler in Photoshop to accomplish this figure ground assignment that I've asked for. Now what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a couple of more exercises here. What I'm asking you to do for next week, or excuse me, 2 weeks from now, well, depending what semester you're looking at this, um, is to do a study in Grayscale, a study in various color schemes, be that monochromatic, analogous, split complementary, triad, and then finishing up finally with creating some sort of a pattern. So this is something that I've done very similar to what I showed you last week in that video, but this is my answer to, at least one of my answers to my figure ground assignment. Okay, so just so we can kind of go back, what I've done is I pulled into Photoshop some of my previous work, and I did that beforehand in case I have any problems showing you how to do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to say place embedded, and what you'll notice here is this is my PDF that I created last week. I'm going to say place, and what you're going to find is as soon as you find place, what Illustrator has done is that these are the various artboards. Now, because I only created one, right, I am going to select that, and I'm going to say place. Now, what it did here for me is it made a new artboard for me, which is great. I have this X with these bounding box nodes around it, but now I need to accept it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my move tool, click, and I'm going to say place. Okay, now what you're going to notice in our layers palette, this little icon right here is telling you that this is a smart, well, actually it tells you smart object thumbnail, okay? But being a smart object thumbnail, it is going to restrict us with some of the things that we can do to this. So in some instances, in other classes, I tell you that this is what you want. In this particular class, I'm going to ask you to make sure that this is not the case. I don't want it to be a smart object. So I'm going to hold down my control key, and I'm going to have it rasterized, and it is, I do have that option right here, rasterize layer, and you'll notice that it went away. I'm going to do the same thing here. Okay, and rasterize layer. So now I always will have, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to rename this black and white. Let's just go /BW. And here, this is going to be my grayscale. And I'm in pretty good shape here. What I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to turn this off so I don't get confused. And I'm going to work with my black and white layer for the moment. And what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to go to my default colors. Those are these two little swatches here, black and white. Now you'll notice that my foreground color is black. I'm going to toggle. It says, it even tells you with the tooltips. Okay, this little toggle right here, if I can hit it again. Okay, I toggled it. Now my foreground color is white. I'm going to select all, Command A. You can see the marching ants again. And I'm going to use my Option Delete key. And what you'll notice here is that I have turned the back. Because this layer is on top of my original one, now everything looks white. I'm going to pull that down. Okay, and the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to merge them. Or I can just keep it white. It doesn't matter. I can work on this layer, and then whenever I turn off or turn on, I'll always have a white background. But let's go ahead and merge them. Pull these together. And I'm going to come here, and I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to say Merge Layers, because those are the two that I have selected. Now what I can do is I can put this in a folder, and this folder I'm going to call Black and White. Pull this over here, drop it in the folder. Okay, you can see the hierarchy. The grayscale. Now if I wanted to, I'm going to turn this off. Now I have my grayscale here. I'm going to work with this without having a background for the moment. And I'm going to drag my layer palette back down here. Get it out of my way, get it out of your way. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Command D, get rid of my marching ants. And I'm going to be concentrating on these various tools. I'm going to be using the magic wand. Now if you don't have the magic wand showing, what you're going to see is it might look like this. You'll notice that there's a little side arrow. Whenever you see a little side arrow down in the lower right hand corner, you'll notice that this is going to be, there are going to be more tools hidden underneath there. I'm also going to be using, because I have a little bit of experience with this particular image, I'm going to be using my lasso tool. And when I use my lasso tool, what you'll notice, I'm going to click here. Now it shows the little lasso. And if I hold down my Shift key, well, first of all, I gotta select something. So I'm going to select this. Now I'm going to go back to my lasso tool. And what you'll notice is if I hold my Shift key down, I can add to my selection. You see that little plus sign? And I can kind of draw with it. So now what I've done is I've added to my selection. If I hold down my Option key, now I can minus my selection. So I can go and I can draw around that. Now because I'm showing you this, I know already that some of these areas are going to bleed into one another. So right now I want to reselect, so I'm going to go Command D. Okay, so go back to my magic wand. And as soon as I go into my magic wand, I have some interesting things happening here. The tolerance is set for 32. That means that it will look at wherever the pixel that I select, it's going to start comparing, and it's going to start looking at the variances between the pixels that I have selected. Now the smaller the number, the smaller the variance can be. I could set this to 10 right now, okay, and because everything's black, okay, it will grab everything that's black. So that's cool, okay, and so because I'm not using any grayscale, once I start using grayscale, then what I need to do is maybe bump this tolerance up to 10, but I'm going to set it back down to 32. Okay, the anti-alias I'm going to leave alone. Now, contiguous means that I will only select areas where the pixels are contiguous. If they are not, and if I deselect this, and again, Command D, it's deselected. Now what I'm going to do is click on the minus the background. Now what you'll notice is any of the pixels that are similar, anywhere in the artboard, you will be selecting them. So I'm going to go back to contiguous because that's the way I want to work. Command D, get rid of my marching ants. Now I'm going to do some quick work with you. I have roughly 5 more minutes to finish this. So it's not going to be the most beautiful, but at least I will show you how to go through at least the grayscale, and then in the next video what I'll do is maybe use the monochromatic. Okay, so what I want to do here is on the grayscale, what you'll notice is all along here, this is the absolute gray. I'm going to start with a middle gray, and as I explained in class, okay, and what we saw in our video is that gray has all the colors, okay, red, RGB. If I want a true gray, these colors have to match. So what I'm going to do is always come in here and just double check to make sure I have a true gray. If I'm off, you know, for other assignments, you may want a warm gray. You may want a cool gray. But for me, right now, I want a true gray. So here, 131, 131, 131, all in RGB. I'm going to say OK. Now, at this point, I'm going to hit Option Delete because that's my foreground color. Now I have that set. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here, and you know, I'm probably going to use the same color. I don't know if it's the wisest choice, but that's what I'm going to do. Option Delete. Okay, now what I want is I want this and this to be even darker. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just double click, and I'm going to come down here, make it a little bit darker. Now I have 75, 75, 77, so I'm going to make this 75. Say OK. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see here. I'm going to click here. This is the area I want darker. Command Delete. Whoopsie. Command Delete. Okay, and then I want this darker. Command Delete. And I want this little piece darker. Command Delete. Okay, and probably in here as well. Okay, so now what I have is I have set my gray tones. Okay, this is going to be a fairly dark image. Now I don't have to stick with all of these grays in my background only. I could actually change these blacks as well. But I want to fill in these two areas. Well, let's go ahead. Well, you know what? I am going to, at this point, I'm going to select that. I'm going to select, hold on my Shift key, you see that little plus sign? Select that and select that. Well, I accidentally picked up this area here. So remember that lasso tool I told you about? And I'm going to enlarge. I'm holding down my Command key. I'm hitting my plus sign. Okay, I want to get up close and personal to this. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down my Option key. So I have that, you see my lasso. And what I'm going to do is very carefully go in here. And I want to deselect this. And again, I'm coming in here, coming in here, come up to the end. Okay, so now what I've done is I've deselected it. Command 0 will make it, you know, full size. Okay, so I want to maybe take, and I'm going to make this a really light color. I'm going to come in here. It's a very nice light gray, 200, 200, 200. Okay. Okay, again, Option Delete. Okay, I have a very light color, and I'm not too keen with that. It's coming a little bit darker. Option Delete. Now, maybe come back here, and maybe not all the way black, but come with darker gray. Okay, Option Delete. Okay, I can live with that. Okay, now what I have to do is fill in the rest of these colors here. And I want these all to be the same color. So what I'm going to do is go back to my magic wand tool, Command D, and in this particular case I'm going to turn off the contiguous. Now I've selected all of the areas that don't have any color. It's going to probably take me a couple of times to